Mina Kimes, Justin Tinsley, Pablo Torre, Bill Barnwell, nuke it. DeAndre Hopkins to Kansas City. What he's got left, how he fits with Patrick Mahomes. Also, the Celtics, so dominant, going on side quests, trying to break a record and missing 13 straight threes in Garbaggio time. It was hilarious, but still flawless. And Bron to Bronny for three, no! But still a moment. Let's go around the horn.
Rockets did not appreciate that.
Calling out their own to try to hit that final three.
A banner-raising night against the conference rival that had a hypey offseason and a superstar engulfed in flames to start. Jason Tatum was hitting everything and looking great doing it. And then everybody started hitting everything. Lead was 20 before you could blink. Then 30, zero competition. Knicks could not get off the mat. What a perfect start for the Boston Celtics. The only drama would be would they break the all-time record for threes in a game? The back of the bench hoisting away 13 straight misses to end it. In the end, 29-61. That's the only thing that got him under 60 and 50% for the game. Record tying. A beatdown of historic season opening proportions. Here's how Josh Hart saw it.
NBA needs a drug test all of them, I'll tell you that. I ain't never seen
drug
like
test
that.
all of them is what he said. On what the Celtics just showed, and then you can get to what the Knicks didn't. Around the horn to Pablo Torre.
Yeah, Tony, this is why the Celtics are far and away the favorite to be the first team in 7 years, I believe, to make it back to the NBA Finals, having won the title last year. So this is something that no one has done in this age of parity. The Celtics seem to stand alone in terms of a team you can actually feel good about. And typically, one game in, you want to throw out the outlier performances. This had all the hallmarks of an outlier performance, except for the fact that if you watched the Knicks last year, their defense was in and around the three-point line. It was, how can we stop teams from just bombing threes on us? And this happened all last year. It happened again in this first game. And the Celtics, look, they had a plan. And Jason Tatum looks better than he did last year, by the way. His shot looks smoother. But the inability to stop the three and the unrepentance of shooting them, that's the two sides of this coin. And it was a perfect match that established that the Knicks are not ready to make a finals run this season.
That was it. That was all you needed to see. Welcome to the season. Grand opening, grand closing, Pablo Torre.
It's a big gap.
Justin Tinsley around the horn to you.
Honestly, Tony, all I could think about after that first half of the game was Ron Burgundy, because that thing escalated quickly last night. It got out of control really, really quick. It felt like Boston was telling the rest of the league, like, we're the kings of the hill, and it's only room for a party of one up here. Like, they blitzed New York straight from the start. 15 of their three-pointers came in the half-court set, and they got those off in less than 12 seconds. You just saw Josh Hart. All the Knicks look dazed and confused, and part of that is to be expected because they're still getting used to the new trade. But guess what? Boston basically brought back the same team, but they look better. They don't have Kristaps Porzingis yet. They went 31-6 without him last year. They look this good, and they're not even completely healthy yet.
Mina Kimes around the horn to you.
Yeah, if one side can spend the last few minutes just jacking up threes, miss all of them, and still finish with a more efficient shooting night, there's a bit of a mismatch. What struck me wasn't just the number of makes, but how they got to them. Justin alluded to this. In transition, they just dominated the Knicks. The way they went hunting Karl Anthony Towns in particular doesn't bode well. And then on the other side, the ability of the Celtics to use Holiday, guard, to guard Towns opens up the rest of the team. They're just so deep. If I have to make one point in the Knicks' favor moving forward, I do think the absence of Mitchell Robinson really hurt them. You don't see them get out-rebounded like this very often. And having him back in the lineup will certainly help, but it will not help with stopping those threes and that discrepancy between the teams.
Bill Barnwell around the horn to you.
Yeah, not surprised to hear Pablo talking about shooting form, given how much time he spent courtside at WNBA games over the past 6 months. I feel like he got a really close attention
watching
to
a champion.
appropriate shooting form.
Watch the champion.
Watching a champion. Watching pretty much every team, at every stadium, in every arena at some point during the offseason. I loved I love this game for the Celtics. They got to show off what they could do, but we know the Celtics had this in their arsenal. It's more concerning to me to see the Knicks struggling, to Mina's point, specifically with their offensive rebounding. They had 5 offensive rebounds in this game. They topped that total 93 of 95 times last year. They averaged a league-high 12.7 offensive rebounds per game, and we know the changes they made this offseason, not having Mitchell Robinson, making trades, bringing in Karl Anthony Towns, they're going to have to adjust. There's going to be a period here where they have to figure out what their offense looks like, what their lineups look like, and that's going to take them some time.
Pablo, you already poured some dirt on them, but any part of you think this is what Tom Thibodeau, well, he doesn't want this, but he can work with this, right? He kind of likes the little crushing of expectation at the start.
Yeah, look, there is some spin you could apply to this. Let's give them an opportunity to really come to terms with their weakness here. But if you're Tibbs, you got to imagine, you talked about this during the whole preseason, right? Like, what's frustrating is that this had to be the focus, and they come out looking like they were unprepared. And if anything is true about Tom Thibodeau, it's that he hates the idea that they were unprepared to play defense.
At Boston,
that's got to be
three-party, though. It's going to happen all year. This record, I'll say, might be broken next week and then the week after that. We might have people on after post-game shows talking about how the NBA, the NBA, needs to raise the rims because there's so many threes. We'll move on. Now, the show in Los Angeles last night.
History tonight. The first father-son duo to play together in an NBA game.
That moment, and then LeBron to Bronny for 3. If it had fallen, hang on to the roof. But no, 3 minutes together, and then the rest of the game where LA looked sparked. And Anthony Davis looked huge in the Lakers. A 110-103 season-opening win over the T-Wolves, a team with equally hype and high expectations. Had you come to praise the moment, or do you still have suspicion that it's all good for this Lakers team? Around the horn to Bill Barnwell.
Moment was nice. I would say the performance in the broader game by the Lakers was a lot more exciting and a lot more meaningful in the big picture for this franchise. This is a franchise that went out and got J.J. Redick to try and improve their offensive efficiency, to get better shots. And we saw in this game, they got there. Anthony Davis had 36 and 16 in this game. And the Lakers, even though they were not shooting well in this game,
some had said it was, regardless of what LeBron wanted, to see it play out like it did.
Yeah, look, if you're online, you are numb and or tired of this because we've been talking about it on the internet forever. If you're a person who's more casual, I think it's hard to deny that this is an incredible story that is, in fact, historic in ways that are undeniable. Tony, look, the fact that this happened to LeBron is still this good. I don't want to diminish that. What I do want to point to, though, is that the real thing that everybody should be excited about, as Bill was alluding to, is the fact that the Anthony Davis that LeBron wanted, okay? Let's talk about the manufacturing of reality that LeBron tends to do. What he wanted to do by getting Anthony Davis from the Pelicans was bring in the guy who could play defense like this. The guy who could look at Rudy Gobert right in front of him and say, you're going to look like a shell of the max contract that you just signed as an extension. So if that's the version of Anthony Davis that you get, then yes, LeBron, secret puppet master.
Understood.
All that's going to work because he's going to work.
This is certainly not the first time we had a reaction to a game where Anthony Davis had a huge game. He has huge games, and we said, this is the one they need. But last night still was about that first look, the moment with Bron and Bronny, and the idea that the Lakers went all in to appease LeBron, or at least to, work with their superstar. And would it motivate him? Justin, what did you see?
Look, I know a lot of people don't like how it came together, how they think it came together. But in the moment, Tony, that was cool
You like
as hell,
it.
bro.
Okay.
That was really, really cool, man. It's only happened 4 times in American pro sports history. You had Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. sitting courtside. Like, it was really cool to see it happen. And I don't expect the Lakers to make this kind of like a trophy moment every couple of games. The next big game for Bronny, I think, will be October 30th in Cleveland. And then after that, I think he'll go to the G League. But here's the thing. I think Bronny can be of service to the Lakers, and here's why. They've been really good at developing talent in years past. You got Alex Caruso, you got Kyle Kuzma, you got Austin Reeves. This may be their biggest project yet. But we know what Bronny can bring to the table. He missed that 3 last night. He didn't shoot well from 3 in the preseason, but that's been
Do
labeled
we know
one of
what
his
Bronny
strong
can bring to the team? I'm not sure we know that, but we know
but
he can bring
as
LeBron.
a prospect, that's what people were saying.
Added, no one has ever questioned his interest or whatever, but just added motivation.
But obviously, that he looked like a proud dad even in the moment last night. He was talking to look, you get in the game, don't be scared. I'm here with you, basically. Like that was cool as hell to see. We won't see it 82
Mina,
times.
did you see it that way? Did you think it was cool? Or did you think you're still suspicious about this?
I mean, he could be Alex Caruso. Anyone could. I'm going to connect the Davis story and the Bronny story because I actually do think they are connected. He had a quote I thought was really telling after the game. He said, "Hey, it was nice to have a LeBron moment where we won." He was alluding to the fact that, when LeBron's broken the record in the past, it's come in losses. But I actually think it's a really significant quote because a moment like this, it feels great when the Lakers win. They won largely because of Anthony Davis, as everyone has pointed out. It becomes an issue if he is playing, and we don't know how much they're going to play or whether they're going to send him to the G League, and they lose. And I think that's sort of the key distinction here, right? When you win, you can make little concessions, and this does feel like a concession at this point in the season. Maybe he'll be a more meaningful contributor in the future, but that's an unknown.
Pablo Torre back in.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say, though, is that if you're the T-Wolves, by the way, the team that lost to this whole show, having made the trade he just did, neither the Knicks nor the Wolves are feeling good about the trade they just made.
Yeah,
and I know it's one game, Tony, but it just doesn't look
the
like you hope.
Decision, and the first result was a loss. You connect LeBron with Bronny, you connect LeBron with Anthony Davis. Don't forget to connect in there as well.
That's right.
I feel like Woody Page. Sorry, I just needed to do it. I needed to. Okay, taking a break right here. Buy or sell on the other side. NFL news of the day, it's big, and it's a trade that maybe you saw coming, maybe 31 teams feared coming. Kansas City acquiring DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver 1. Some very clairvoyant, swashbuckling even, handsome panelist on this show wrote it up earlier this week, actually last week, saying it was going to happen even before the Smith-Schuster injury. Well done, Bill Barnwell, but hold your thought. Start with Mina Kimes around the horn to you. Is Hopkins still Hopkins? How will he fit with Mahomes? What does this mean for the rest of the league?
I really like this for Kansas City. Their offense, even though it's not as explosive, it's actually still pretty efficient. But when you watch them, there's still a lot left on the table in the passing game. And what Hopkins brings to this point, to the team at this point in his career, is not the same maybe as 5 years ago. But as you saw there, his hallmark, his greatest strength, his hands, the contested catchability, the physicality, that is something that no one else in this Chiefs receiving group has. So I really like this addition for Kansas City.
Justin Tinsley.
I'm with Mina. I'm not saying this is Randy Moss to New England, but I really like this trade for Kansas City. It was a clear need, and they only gave up a 5th-round pick. But you know who I'm really, really happy for? DeAndre Hopkins. This dude just went from wide receiver purgatory to wide receiver heaven with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid.
Pablo Torre.
Yeah, this is also part of what the Chiefs do at this point. They need a wide receiver because of brutal injuries. They have a defense that's really good. And so you pick up Mecole Hardman last year to catch a Super Bowl touchdown. You do the same, I presume, with DeAndre Hopkins. I just like, Tony, for the record here, that I'm not the only one plagiarizing Bill Barnwell statistics. The NFL clearly is again doing the same.
Bill Barnwell, now to you. You saw it coming last week, but what does Hopkins bring at this stage in his career?
He brings a physicality to the receiving core that I don't think they have right now. Look at a couple of the interceptions from Mahomes in recent weeks. Throw to Juju Smith-Schuster in the end zone on a slant, bounces off his hands. It's a contested catch. Last week, Xavier Worthy, their rookie, falls down when he's being contacted in the middle of a route, leads to an interception. Chiefs wide receivers have 9 catches this year when they've been pressed at the line of the scrimmage. Fewest in the NFL. League average for teams is 27. And the Chiefs throw the ball a fair amount to their wide receivers. So now you're adding a player who can win against press coverage, who can be physical. And by the way, if he's not 100%, that's okay. Play him for 20 snaps a game between now and the end of the year. This is a trade not for now, but for December, January, and February.
So it doesn't matter, 1,000-yard season or not, which he hasn't had 2 of those 3 years. Okay. Is anybody saying that's a wrap? They got Nuke Hopkins, that's a wrap. Bill Barnwell?
No, because every wide receiver they get gets injured. So I'm just hoping DeAndre Hopkins stays healthy through the end of the year.
No, I think that the Ravens' offense right now is such a buzzsaw that I'm not saying the Chiefs are automatic.
We'll move on. Year of the wide receiver trade in the NFL. You know, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, and DeAndre Hopkins. Could Cooper Kupp possibly be next now that he's healthy? Could a Rams teardown be possible? Would that mean Stafford too? Around the horn of Bill Barnwell.
Skeptical. Cooper Kupp certainly could be moved, and I think the fact that the Rams are willing to reportedly shop Cooper Kupp and eat money tells us they're moving on from him at the end of the season, that he's going to be a cut after the 2024 season is up. So maybe trade him now to a team you want to get him to, as opposed to letting him be a free agent, and maybe having him sign with a rival like Arizona, or maybe if Deebo Samuel moves on, maybe San Francisco. I could see the logic in that, but I don't think this extends to Stafford. I believe that when Matthew Stafford moves on, Sean McVay will move on with him as well.
All right, but give me a possible destination then, if they do shop him.
Chargers would make sense. He can stay in Los Angeles, doesn't have to move. And we saw in that game against the Cardinals, anybody who you've ever heard of before was dropping passes from Justin Herbert.
Pablo Torre.
Yeah, Tony, I like the Bucs as a suitor here. Of course, Evans, Godwin out. Clearly, they would like to pay to actually remain in contention, which is what the Rams are not in currently, by the way, right? Dead last in the division. The bigger picture rumors that we're alluding to here is Sean McVay threatened to retire at one point and do media stuff. Matt Stafford is podcasting now. It seems like everybody's kind of getting ready to try the next thing, and I don't think Cooper Kupp's part of that plan.
Justin Tinsley.
Okay, hear me out. Like Bill Barnwell said, if the Rams are willing to eat some cash, eat some leverage, how about the Baltimore Ravens, man? Look, seriously, look at it. He's the perfect possession receiver for that offense.
Arms race, here we go.
Yeah, arms race. Look, Mina just mentioned Baltimore as the biggest threat to KC. Hey, look, send Cooper Kupp to Baltimore and watch that offense thrive even more.
Mina, what's the face you're making there at the idea that would even be in play?
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like the Ravens style. I think the two teams you mentioned, that the Chargers, the Bucs come to mind, maybe the Steelers as well. The Chargers, Greg Roman looking at Cooper Kupp's blocking ability and just putting him in on run plays over and over is a little bit upsetting to me. That's why I laughed there. I think my concern, though, or at least my skepticism, is the Rams would want a lot to do this, and I'm not sure those three teams would be willing to part with, say, a second-round pick. Even though I do think Cooper Kupp still has a lot left in the tank, all you have to do is go back and watch week 1 when he had 21 targets, I believe, against Detroit and went crazy.
Although, who would be the most win now of all the teams we just mentioned? It would be Baltimore. Would they be the one willing to say, you know what? All the chips to the center of the table. Tins, you may be onto something, but you're on to an elimination right here. But more importantly, you're on to something big this weekend. What do we got cooking, Tins?
Hampton homecoming, baby. I'm coming home tomorrow evening. I'll be there.
I love it. Hampton versus Howard, the search for the real HU, right? Where do we land on that?
It's in the 757, baby.
That's it.
There's another HU. Did
you go to a school in New England? I had no idea. All right. Kimes, Barnwell.
Get him out of here.
Is it a Bill Simmons coaching tree showdown? Next. Showdown is Kimes, Barnwell. Shohei Ohtani's 50-50 ball selling for $4.39 million. That's a record for any sports ball ever. Mina, is this really the most valuable ball in ball history?
I'm skeptical because, hear me out, I feel like he's going to do it again and top what he did this season. Am I crazy for thinking that? And I also think McGuire's ball will probably never be topped for reasons.
Bill Barnwell?
Yeah, Shohei went 54-59 this year. Are we sure you want to bet $4 million he's not going to go 60-60 next year? Because that's a bet I do not want to take.
I also do not think it's the most valuable ball. It's just the most recent ball. I get what you're saying. I think the ball's actually, I know no one really got him, that decided the Cubs and the Red Sox wins of the World Series. That would be a cooler ball to have. I know the teams have those. We'll move on. SEC football legends class. They're inducting the greats of the game from the conference. This year, I'm going to give you two names for the SEC Legends class. Vince Young, Barry Switzer. And I think you know the reason why I'm giving you those names, because they didn't play in the conference when they were active. Can you really induct guys into your conference as legends who were never in the conference and only now in it because of expansion, Bill?
Not Vince Young's fault that the college football landscape has changed since he left college football. Unless you're opening up a Legends class for conferences that don't exist anymore or that don't exist in the same way, you have to give him some credit.
Mina?
Yeah, you really can't tell the history of SEC football without Barry Switzer. I actually feel similarly to how I did about the Ohtani thing, which is this all feels very short-lived. Yes, he's an SEC legend now. In a few years, when it's a giant super conference, who the heck knows what we'll call him.
Bill Barnwell, 30 seconds of FaceTime.
Rest in peace to Fernando Valenzuela, the Los Angeles Dodgers legend who passed away. And a lesson I think to be learned here, give people their flowers while you can. The Dodgers did not retire numbers unless you made it to the Hall of Fame for a long time. So even though Fernando Valenzuela pitched for a decade for the Dodgers, didn't have his number retired until last year. You could see how excited and delighted he was to have his number retired. Happy the Dodgers got to have that happen. Happy he got to see that before he passed away.
Moment with Vince Scully on the mound, too.
Bill Plaschke called him the most important Los Angeles Dodgers ever. Rest in peace.
Wow.